Every time I finish a book, I turn the characters and the world I imagine into a journal spread. So today I'm showing you my complete reading system.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to talk about my reading journal routine and how I annotate my books when I do read them, if they're paperback. A lot of books I read are on Kindle. Let's get right into it. So first things first, in order to get into reading journaling, you have to read. So I recently read this book. It is literally called Red. It is the first book in the Codenames series by Jess Turner. Jess Turner is actually someone that I know in real life, and she is awesome. She's awesome, and this is a romance. It does have spice in it, but the spice isn't too overpowering. And it is a romance between a hockey player and a band girl. It is very good, and she is coming out with the second book in August. So I will link her below, and y'all make sure y'all go check her out. But anyway, as you can see, there are a lot of tabs. So I have recently gotten into annotating my books, and it has been the best thing that I have done, especially when it comes to me. I like to write little book reviews. And so when it comes to me writing my book reviews, it helps with me turning between the pages and stuff like that. So what I do is I first open the book up, and I always put a key because each book is different tabs, right? Because I go through a lot of tabs. So I always have to make a key. So I make a key in the front of the book. I don't like writing in my books because if I do happen to give them away or something, I don't know. I just don't want all of my handwriting all over the book. So I use just sticky notes and tabs for my books. So it was my key for this book. I did blue for quotes, red for spice, and then yellow for like a good plot point, right? Something that I might need to remember or something like that. And then I use these little tabs for if I just needed to write thought or something that I had, I used one of these tabs. See, literally on the first page, I already had a thought. So I wrote something down. That's just how I do it. And you see all these yellow tabs. And then, like I said, the red tabs is spice points and stuff like that. So, and the blue tabs are good quotes that I feel like would be quote worthy. For example, one of the quotes that I marked, it says, "Your heart is the most beautiful thing I have ever had the pleasure of knowing." I thought that was cute. I thought that's quote worthy. That's something you would write somewhere. So, and then good plot is like anytime there was like plot change or plot point in the book, I would write down something for that. I would put a tab for that. So that is the first step in my reading process. Oh my god, my nose. Can't even film the damn video because my nose just keep nosing. Another book that I did this to is I recently read the Nevessa Allen Lights Out book. This is a dark romance about a guy who's a cyber tech and a girl who is a nurse. I really, 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 really like this book. I have the second book in the series, and I can't wait to read it. As you can see, this one has way more tabs, way more tabs. But I also did a key, but this one has different colored tabs, as you can see. So therefore, there's a different key. So once again, the random notes that I needed, I put it on the big tab, and then so I did pink for spice, green for impactful moments or good plot, purple for good quotes, and orange for world building, because I realized that that is an important aspect of reading too, the world building, because as you will see in my reading journal, I like to make collages for the books that I read. So I basically use the world building aspect to help me with my collage. How does the world look? What do I imagine it to be in my head? Because when I read books, it's like a movie in my head. So that's why I like to do that. And this one has a lot more tabs because this one crazy. It was a crazy, crazy book. But let's see if we can get one of the quotes. All my quotes were purple. One of the quotes that I marked, it says, "All because I wanted to fuck a pretty girl while wearing a mask." Yep, this book is crazy. It's crazy. If you do read it, make sure you read the trigger warnings in the front. Red also has a few trigger warnings in the front. None of the trigger warnings really bothered me, so I was able to read them. But like I said, make sure you read the trigger warning. But that goes into how I annotate my books. I don't really have an annotation system for when I read on my Kindle app, on my iPad, but I do highlight certain parts. I can click and highlight. I do that, but it's not as diverse as this. I prefer reading paperback or like pages as opposed to Kindle, but sometimes Kindle is cheaper, so I read on the Kindle. Now let's get into the journaling aspect. So this is my reading journal. It's not as decorated as my other journals, but I'm getting stickers as I go. So this is the front. I got a lot of these stickers from Pen Pals and I think Sheen, some of them, but the black girl stickers are from some of my Pen Pals. And then on the back, this is what it looks like. I have a Lord of the Rings sticker. What about Second Breakfast? I love Lord of the Rings. I never read the books, but I love the movies. I was thinking about reading the books, but that seemed like a lot, so I don't know. But I do love Lord of the Rings. So how I insert everything into my reading journal is first I go into my reading journal and I have this bookshelf sticker. It's 2 stickers across 2 pages. I got this from Etsy. I will link it if you guys want to get it as well. I got it from an Australian seller. I saw it on TikTok and I was like, I need that. And yes, it did take a month to get here, but I don't care. I needed it. So I color in the books and I write the names on the labels, as you can see. So red is right here. Red is this blue book right here, and then lights out is right here is green. And I even write the fanfics that I read on here because most of the fanfics I read are big enough to be a book. So then I write it down in my reading log. I write down the date that I finished reading it, title, the author, and how I rate it. And then I usually put pictures of the books as well, but I haven't caught up with my pictures, but I do have a few. Also put pictures of the fanfics. I make little Canva book covers for even the fanfics that I read as well. The only thing I don't do is I read a lot of manga. For example, there's 2 manga series in here that I've read. I'm not going to print out every cover for every manga book. I just put one. So like Firefly Wedding, boom, you just put that one. And then I make a collage. So this is for Ember and Ice. It is a audiobook on Quinn, the Quinn app, and it is voiced by the guys that played in Heated Rivalry, Connor Story and Hudson Williams. I think that's their names. And so I heard that they were voice acting the book. They were doing the voice, and I was like, oh, I gotta read it. I gotta listen to it. I'm not really an audiobook person, but it wasn't that long. I think it's about 3 hours worth of listening. It wasn't too bad. I listened to it in a day, but I made a little collage for that and stuff like that. So let me show y'all the book that I'm currently reading. The books I just showed y'all, actually. Let's see. I read a Harvey from Stardew fanfic, so I had to make a little thing. But yeah, basically just make like a little collage or put a few pictures, and then I write my review. Most of my reviews are mainly my thoughts, how the book made me feel. But sometimes it's like more anecdotal. Oh, this happened to this happened. Sometimes it's more of a review. Sometimes it's more of my thoughts. It just depends on how I'm feeling that day. Sometimes my spreads are 3-4 pages long. For example, I really loved Firefly Wedding, so I made it 2-3-4 pages long. But the book that we are looking at right now, so for the Red Coat Names book that I just showed y'all, this was my collage that I made for it. And then the next page, I wrote my thoughts, and I wrote them in red. And then for Lights Out, I just did my Lights Out spread literally yesterday. I finished the book 2 weeks ago, but I just did the spread. But my Lights Out one was very plain and simple, to the point. So that is my reading system. That's basically how I annotate my books and what I do after I read the books, because I just like having some type of memorabilia about the book, so like that I know that I read it, and I feel like if I look back at this in a few years, I'm gonna be like, wow, I did all that. So it's just nice to have. And I don't do these yearly. I know some people do yearly reading journals. I am a busy person in terms of school, and I'm not working at the moment, but when I was working, like I barely had time to read, so I know I can't do a yearly journal because I don't have time to just sit and read. So this is just a journal for however long until I fill it up. So that I could fill it up by the end of 2027. I might not fill it up till 2030. I don't know, but I'm just keeping it until I fill it up. But that is my journaling system for reading. Do you guys have any type of journaling system for when you read? Do you write book reviews? Let me know down in the comments, and I will catch you guys in my next one. Bye.